So, Avengers Endgame was my number one most anticipated film of 2019, and The Lion King is number two. So, how did it turn out? Let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to my opinion/review for The Lion King. I really do appreciate it. Now, this film, The Lion King, is being directed by Mr. Jon Favreau. I'm a big fan of his. If you are familiar with his work, you know that he directed Iron Man, the first film in the MCU that started everything out. He also did Iron Man 2. He did Zathura, I don't own that, and also Cowboys and Aliens. And recently, a couple of years ago, he also directed The Jungle Book, that live action film right there. And I love this film. I thought it was fantastic. And when I found out Mr. Jon Favreau was attached to this as well, that got me happy. I was just like, okay, hey, all you got to do is just redo what you did with The Jungle Book and everything will be just fine. We're going to have another great film on our hands. Well, what is The Lion King about? Well, you guys pretty much know that already. It's the remake of the 1994-95, classic film, which I have right here, where Simba, the son of Mufasa, has to take over Pride Rock after Mufasa is murdered and has to avenge his death from his evil uncle Scar. Now, the first thing I loved about this film, or the first three things that I loved about this film the most, are the visuals, Timon and Pumbaa, and all the songs. They knocked all three of those elements out of the park. I did not go into this film reading or watching any other reviews online, but I did hear another pundit say just briefly in another talk show that, he loved the CGI and the visuals as well, but there was like maybe a shot or two where he can tell it was CGI because there was like lions was playing in the water and he could tell it wasn't real. I didn't notice that myself. I mean, I don't have the best vision and all that good stuff, but I didn't notice that, and I thought the visuals across the board was phenomenal. So if you're worried about that, please don't worry about it. Even though this is not live action, this is photorealistic. So, you can put your worries, under the bed as far as that's concerned. The next thing I loved about this film is Timon and Pumbaa. Like I said, I thought their performances were freaking fantastic. Now, I said I didn't see any reviews or anything like that, but I do always check out the social media reactions, and the social media reactions across the board were lovely. And one person, doing that was saying that Timon and Pumbaa stole the show, and I have to agree with him there. Timon and Pumbaa was like the best thing. Timon is being played by Billy Eichner, and Pumbaa is played by Seth Rogen. I'm not the biggest fan of Billy Eichner, but I am a big fan of Seth Rogen, and I think that he was perfectly voice cast in this role. I loved everything about both of them. They looked photorealistic. That was funny. I love the songs that they sung, all that good stuff. That was just absolutely perfect. And the last thing that I just loved about this film, or this new adaptation, was the songs. Like, seriously, every time a song came on from the original movie right here, I literally could not help it. I was bobbing my head, tapping my feet, doing this right here in the montage, where Simba grows up, and singing Hakuna Matata and all that good stuff. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, there was one song as well that initially they weren't going to put in the film. That's when Scar, in this film, it was the voice has been taken over by, I was going to say Jaimon Hansu, but that is not his name. Chiwetel Ejiofor. In the animated movie, it was Jeremy Irons. And I'll talk about the casting in just a second. But the Be Prepared song in the animated film, that was recognized as some type of Nazi salute. And I believe, and they didn't want to put that in the film, for controversial reasons. So that song is still in the film, but the cadence and, the melody and all that is changed. I wasn't say slightly, but, it is a drastic change. But it still works, and I like it. And one of the things why I like it is going into this film. I mean, The Lion King is a perfect film in my opinion, and so many people love it just across the board. I believe this made like $964 something like that million back in like 1994, 95, and I was going into this film just like, okay, I don't want them to change everything because this film is perfect. But at the same time, I don't want, I want to see something different. I was on the fence not knowing what I really wanted. And while a lot of this film is being, is shot for shot, and I'll talk about that in a second, I do like some of the subtle changes that they made, especially to the songs like Be Prepared or another song which I'm going to talk about later that had to do with Beyonce. I don't remember the words, but I know that was not in the original animated film. Now, something else that I was concerned about is just how Nala and Simba will come across on screen, what they have that lion chemistry and things like that. And when they did, I'm going to be talking spoilers. Of course, everybody knows the plot of this movie and seen the animated film. But when they met, when they was older or whatever, that was like really when the film just started popping for me. And I was like, okay, this is beautiful. This is exactly what I wanted to see. This is hitting all of my expectations. It was just everything about just that whole moment, that whole portion of the film was just like freaking spectacular. I thought Donald Glover was perfect as Simba. And I really thought Beyonce did a phenomenal job as well. And in this part in the movie, I really did feel the emotions of the lions. That was another concern I had because the first trailer came out Thanksgiving of last year. It was perfect. Everybody was losing their damn mind. Like, oh my God, the Lion King is coming. But the following trailers after that didn't move me as much. And I was just like, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm a little scared. How are they going to do the mouth moving of the animals? Is it going to look real? Or how are they going to emote, their faces? Is it going to look real? Doing the older Simba and Nala parts with Donald Glover and Beyonce, that was perfect. And you could really actually feel all the emotion in the lions' faces in the later half of the movie. And that's something that the Jungle Book necessarily didn't have to deal with, because while that film did have animals in it as well that talked and emoted as well, Mowgli was the main character. He was the main centerpiece, a human being that we see every day. So we didn't necessarily have to focus on the animals' expressions as much, but there aren't any humans in this or whatever. So you really got to do is everything you can to get the eyes to move. And while it was great with the older Simba and Nala, it wasn't the best in the first half of the film, but I'll talk about that in a second when we do get to the negatives. Now, I love the opening as well. This film, the opening is literally a full shot by shot, maybe like 98% shot by shot, but of their animated film. But as soon as it starts, I'm just like this, leaning forward, smiling, like, yes, this is bringing me back to my childhood, 5th grade, 10 years old. That's how old I was when this animated film came out, and I was just loving everything about that. If you know me well, I like my martial arts and my fighting and all that good stuff. Were there any martial arts in this film? No, these are lions and hyenas fighting each other, and that is kind of a bummer. I'll go ahead and give a slight negative. While Rafiki did come through at the end and the final showdown with his bow staff doing all of his stuff, he didn't fight like he did in the animated film. But at the same time, where in the world is a monkey in Africa or going to learn kung fu? I mean, we're not going to get into all the origins of, martial arts and kung fu right now, but, there's a small little element that I missed. But Rafiki was great as well, being voiced by Mr. John Candy, who played T'Chaka in the Black Panther franchise or whatever. But the fighting in between the lions and all that, it was cool. They was really squabbling at the end, you know what I'm saying? Zuzu, the bird, he even came through and was, doing whatever he could, and being voiced by John Oliver, and I liked that. The effects was fine. When my action is going down, I like for all characters involved to give 100% full effort, and I feel that they did that in the film. So the fighting between the lions and all that was cool too. It was, it had me at the edge of my seats most of the time, but not all the time. So I love that as well. Now, I'll just go ahead and say this, guys. I love the second. I enjoyed the film. I loved it for the most part. But I will say that I enjoyed the second half of the film, the part where, Mufasa dies and Simba runs away and doesn't come back, when Scar tells him that. I pretty much loved everything from that point on to the end of the film. But after the intro of the film, up until that point, some things were kind of like, up and down for me. Now, I want to talk about this real quick too. Hans Zimmer coming through. He's one of my favorite composers, like Hans Zimmer, John Williams, Steve Jablonsky. Hans Zimmer, he did all the Dark Knight soundtrack things, and he works a lot with Christopher Nolan. Steve Jablonsky is like his protege, or they may be the other way around. Where he does a lot with Michael Bay, and John Williams, Star Wars, but the score and the music and all that was great. I'd already talked about the songs and how much I love that. And the hyenas really spoke out to me too. They were funny. I really have to give credit to what is his name here, Key and Michael Key. Keegan and Michael Key, Eric, Andre, Flores, Kasumba, she came through as well. The hyenas, they have a nice threatening presence to them. You know, when they did pop on scene for the first time, I was like, oh snap, Simba and Nala's in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like, they better get the hell out of here. They finna get eaten up. I really did feel the danger. Like, there was a good sense of danger there, you know, and, but let's go ahead and get to some of the negatives. One of them is just that, like, okay, while I did enjoy a lot of the shot for shot stuff, some of it I was like, man, was this movie worth me even paying to go see? Was it worth it at all? Because, you know, it was just a lot of it, and especially in the first half, was like shot for shot. While I did love the intro, you know, after that, I was just like, man, like I said, this is shot for shot. Like, I'd rather be at home, you know, watching the animated movie. At least I can be in my drawers and be comfortable or something with some libations. You know what I'm saying? I paid, you know, $10 for this. I saw it in IMAX because this was shot with IMAX cameras 190x1. You know, but there was like, while there was a lot of moments where I was just like, you know, happy and going like this, you know, there was also a lot of moments where I was just like, okay, man, we got another hour left, you know what I'm saying? But not that much, you know, not that much. And at the very beginning of the film, other than Scar, now, let's talk about him real quick. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar, he knocked it out the park. You know, I was really bummed out initially when Jeremy Irons was not able to come through to reprise his role. But Chiwetel Ejiofor, he did the character role justice. He did a phenomenal job. I love that. And for some reason, you know, since they are not doing the best job in the first half of the film with the emotion of the animals' faces and their eyes and twitching and, you know, mannerisms and things like that, I really did sense the emotion behind Scar being voiced by Chiwetel Ejiofor. But everything else, every other character in the first half of the movie, I didn't feel, besides Mufasa, I didn't feel the emotion in the characters' faces at all. And it was really, like, you know, ticking me off. I mean, I wasn't upset, but the film wasn't grabbing me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't just like, oh my gosh, this is a dream come true. You know, this is meeting all my expectations. You know, it just wasn't doing that. I really just did not feel that emotional impact, you know. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain because, you know, in the animated movie, you know, when the montage where they're singing Hakuna Matata, no worries, and they're on the log and Simba and Timon and Pumbaa are going like this, singing or whatever. In the film, they were doing that on the log, but they wasn't bobbing their head. I was, you know, because I remember that from the animated film. So it's like I complained that stuff was shot for shot in one instance, but at the same time, I complained that it's not shot for shot in another. So it seems like I'm really not being fair, but it's just kind of hard to pinpoint, you know, your finger definitely on it. But I will go ahead and give Jon Favreau, everybody involved, credit because they did do a hell of a great job. I can't do it myself, and I am grateful for this. You know what I'm saying? They're not making, you know, this movie just for me. They're trying to make it for everybody. You can't please everybody. So while this film is not just the perfect adaptation of the animated original film, I mean, there are a lot of things that I enjoyed more in the animated film, and there was a few things that I love more, and I want to say live action, but it's not, in this CGI rendered photorealistic version as well that I like more than animated movie. But I did like it. If somebody put a gun on my head and say, you have to pick one film right now, the animated movie or this new version in 2019, and, you know, one will go away, of course I would pick the animated film. But that's not to say that, you know, this new adaptation isn't good, because it really is. And I look forward to buying it on Blu-ray 4K, because I know it is going to look so damn good, you know, on my television. Oh, and just like one more thing real quick, when I'm talking about the emotional impact, when Mufasa died at one point, you know, when he's trying to climb up the side of the mountain and he's getting knocked back down by the bull that are running through the cavern or whatever, I was feeling that. I was like, oh no, please make it or whatever. But when Scar kind of threw him off, you know, he hit him with like a two-piece in the face, and Mufasa's jumping back screaming, ah! You know, they didn't nail that. Okay, I mean, it wasn't the best recreation or reenactment in that instance. You know, it just was better in the animated film. They tried, but, you know, this is a very, very hard thing to do. But at the same time, I still did enjoy the film. If I had to rate The Lion King out of a 1 out of 10, I'm going to give it an an 8 out of 10. Yes, an 8 out of 10. I couldn't tell if I wanted to give it an 8 out of 10 or an 8.5. But guys, please let me know down below. Have you seen The Lion King? Do you want to see it? What are your expectations like? Are you happy that we're getting this remake? Or are you upset and just think they should have left it alone and put that money towards something else? But guys, that is just my opinion. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like the video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up. If you don't, that's fine. But still, please consider subscribing to my channel and look me up on social media. Help me reach 10,000 subscribers. But guys, I just want to thank you again for tuning into my opinion/review for The Lion King. And before you go, don't forget that my name is Brandon Keith Avery, and that's just my opinion. Peace.